to solve absolute value inequalities, first we want to think about what does an absolute value mean? It means the distance from 0. So see how this says the distance from 0 of this stuff needs to be less than 7. Well, a way to think about a distance needs to be less than something is to say it's got to be closer than 7 units to v minus, or v minus 3 needs to be closer than 7 units to 0. So we know those solutions will always end up looking like one interval, saying it has to be between this and this. If it says greater than, that means that it needs to be further away. So it's kind of good to think of, if it starts out less than, it's a closer problem. We're trying to say when the value is close to something. That way you have an idea from the beginning what your solution should look like at the end. But the rule for what to do is really similar to solving absolute value equations. You leave it exactly the same in one case, just v minus 3 is less than 7. And in the other case, you have to make it negative 7. But then here with inequalities, that means you have to switch the direction of the sign. So make it open the other way. So if I add 3 to both sides, this says v is less than 10. And if I add 3 to both sides on this one, it says v is greater than negative 4. All right, so here's where the closer part will come in. Say if this is negative 4, and this is 10. I need to be less than 10, not including 10, right, because it's not less than or equal to, so an open circle. And I have to be greater than negative 4. See how that ends up being everything that's in between 10 and negative 4? So I'm closer than a certain amount of units to something. All right, so let's try another one. Absolute value v plus 2 is greater than 4. All right, so if I'm saying my distance needs to be greater than something, I'm saying I have to be further than 4 units away from whatever. So my math is still the same. One of them, or my algebraic work, one of them stays exactly the same. And the other one, if I want to make it negative, I have to switch the direction of the sign. So it can be greater than 4 or less than negative 4, because we're going further than a certain amount of units away. All right, so if I subtract 2 from both sides, I get v is greater than 2, and over here I get v is less than negative 6. So it helps to keep this further thing in mind, because when I look at the picture of this solution on the number line, say here's negative 6, here's 0, here's 2. I want to be greater than, right, alligator mouth opening towards the v, greater than 2, or I could be less than negative 6. See how that looks like I need to be further away from something instead of closer to it? So it's nice to start out, if it's greater than or less than from the beginning, decide whether it's a further away from something or a closer to something problem.